you kind of hear the nuances. You kind of hear the note they miss. Maybe they cut a little short. And to me, that rusticness makes it so much more beautiful than cookie cutter perfect music is. Hearing that little, maybe they bent their note too much on the guitar, and they hit a chord, barely a little late. And to me, those little live, crumbs in the song is what makes the song beautiful. So that was my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine on the way to Fairy World last weekend that we have another band I just got on with Rogues Inn. They're telling them how they pace all the music together. It's not like the old-fashioned way where you used to have the whole band in the studio and you go through the song. And with the band all together, it's all paced and cut. And she's completely baffled. Why is it that way? Like, that's how they want to do it now. They want to make sure it's perfectly clean and paste together just like that and not have it raw. Me personally, I'd rather have all the members of the band go into the studio together and hash it out the album. That way it used to be.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm fully on board with that.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel as technology has progressed, think about it. 25 years ago, the actual quality of sound has changed to what it is today. Whether you have iPhone, Samsung, it doesn't matter to me. The quality of music coming out of your phone through your earbuds is much different than it was 25 years ago. And now everyone's a critic. Everyone's gonna hear the mistake you make on a record. So I feel like that's why the whole industry has flipped. It's like, okay, now everyone's going to comment if we make this mistake. If you don't hit this note, everyone's going to know. Because now everyone is, now it's just totally hypothetical, everyone essentially is a producer at this point, that they know what's going to happen and all that. And to me, as technology progressed, it changed the way songs were created and records were cut. Personally, if a band and if every person could go in there, lay down that record, battle it out, make it sound great, take the cut, and make it your best cut ever, then to me that's how records should be made, because you have to put your emotion into the song. If you're not singing with emotion, it's not going to sound good. So, to me, that's why those old records sound good, is because they were in the studio, they were probably tired, but they gutted it out and they put down their best cut, and to me that sounds awesome.
Totally agree. Because I remember watching a documentary on Joan Jett and the Heartbreakers, and then they're in the studio trying to hash it out, and then the producer, tell them, nope, it's not good enough, you need more of this, you need more of that. And that interaction with the band and the producer being the record, in the record studio, is seen so much live. And so, they're so frustrated and tired of it that they will actually, in their last straw, they'll hit the right note because they're getting tired of being in the studio, and they'll hash that song out and come back tomorrow, do the next song.
Yep.
So that's that's classic right there.
Oh yeah. Or there's been times where it's you played the song 10 times and it's not working.
Yeah.
You've been there for 4 hours and it's not working. And you put in all this work and it does not sound good. So you have to pack it up, go home, and go back the next thing and do it all over again, and just put your smile face on and put down the best record you can do. And sometimes it's hard, but sometimes that works. Sometimes the way you woke up, the way you got there, that all affects the way you're going to play later. So, and some days it's going to work. It's going to take one take. You're going to nail it in one take. Some days it's going to take 50. And that's the beauty of music, is some days you're going to feel it and some days you're not. And that's where in this sort of technology revamp type of music, when you hit a note on a Mac board, it is on a MacBook computer, there's no emotion in that MacBook. No. That F key you hit, that enter key, whatever you hit, there's no emotion in that keyboard. But when you're singing, playing guitar, the bass, the drums, if you're laying down an orchestral record, to me, there's much more emotion in that than an automated noise.
As an electronic, industrial musician myself, it's a really difficult thing to take a bunch of electronically created music notes and make them sound as good as like really like as emotionally gripping as a full live band. It's incredibly difficult, and most of the time, in my own personal case, I have to rely straight on just the vocals themselves. Like, the vocals have to be the shining part, because that's the one thing that I could put the emotion into. I can do so much with all these various recorded sounds, but I can't force them to sound anything more than what they are. Whereas with vocals, of course, you can inject as much emotion as you possibly can, and hopefully somebody can hear it, somebody can pick it out, and you didn't just flub it all the time. But it's definitely a lot of work, and a lot of the big electronic musicians don't really think like that. They're just like, oh yeah, I can slap a song together in a few minutes, and there's my new single. And it's
it's just like it's a different age, and that's the thing. How do you find the balance between, and this is hard, how do you find the balance between technology and, no, I don't want to say legitimacy, because to me, that's still creative. To me, that is still creative. I can't take that away from them. But how do you take technology and live music, and how do you blend them? How do you bring them together?
And it's definitely a balancing act for anybody that's really involved with it. And some of the bands that I really have a lot of respect for are bands like Nine Inch Nails and people like that, who make a lot of things electronically, but they bring those electronics on their tour, and they do what they can to blend them with musicians who know how to interpret everything and will play not just around those beeps and bloops and things, but will also add to it and help it kind of grow beyond what it is and make it something less electronic sounding and more organic sounding. And it's tough, man. It's tough to do. And there's my first keyword of the night, Nine Inch Nails, of course. They do such an excellent job. Like, I've seen like 8-9 times, I think, since 2005. I've seen them. And I can't name another band that does electronic and organic synthesis as well as that. Like, it just doesn't come to my mind. It's either one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like it's like you got to find a certain rhythm, and to me, that's always been hard. Like, I played with backing tracks before, and to me, it's just so much more different than a live band. Because a live band, you feed off each other. There's dynamics, there's feeling, there's emotion. But like, and this is me personally, it's always been hard for me to connect with a backing track that's playing behind me.
It's almost like playing karaoke, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's fun. You like singing karaoke sometimes. You go out, you hang out with friends and stuff, but when you're trying to create something and put yourself forward, it just feels like, oh yeah, I just got this thing. I'm just, singing along, and it doesn't feel authentic. There's a big problem right now with, I'm not the world's biggest hip-hop fan, but I've gotten into it a little bit, but there's a big problem in the hip-hop world with people basically putting together a bunch of cheap samples on a laptop and selling them for a lot of money to other people who want to rap over them. And half the time, these people don't listen to the songs that they've purchased. They just hear a basic stock beat, and they're like, okay, and they rap to it, and that's it. And I'm sure whether they might be talented rappers in their own right, that maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but it sounds so cheaply put together.
Yeah,
and it's just everywhere right now.
It's huge. Like, and one of them to me is Drake. Like, to me, he has a beat and he's just talking. But to me, it's just like, yes, that's creative. I can't take that away from you. But when are we going to value legitimacy? Not in the music industry, but as the listener. When are we going to say, where is the line between music and a record he's trying to sell? And to me, along with the lines of that whole being organic and, technology, to me, Adele has nailed that. She's got that down. 'Cause, I mean, her and a piano is great, but on her records, I'm sure some of that is tossed in there. And that, to me, that is 100%, well, not 100%, but I'd say mostly because of her voice, that helps amplify the whole record. And like you said earlier, Spider, it's just, it's because you can pour emotion into the voice. And that's what really helps, feeds into the legitimacy and organicness of the record.
If you're going to make electronic music, or at least incorporate electronics in a really heavy fashion, you have to somehow offset it from sounding like you just sat on your laptop and slapped it all together. Because I can do that. I mean, I can sit on my laptop and pump out music all day long if I really want to, and maybe some of it will sound really good. But to me, it'll sound uninspired and just kind of like, okay, here's another song, here's another song, here's another song. And it's one thing to be productive, it's another thing to just be cranking out things that you really have no feeling for. And if you want them to be, for me, if I want any of my music to be something I can really be proud of making, I have to put the work in to make it not just 10 minutes on my laptop slapping some samples together. I have to get into the meat of it. I have to arrange things. I have to listen to things, adjust everything. If I can, I have to put in the best possible vocals to fit the track that I'm doing. Otherwise, it's just... Oh, yeah. Like I said, it just sounds lazy to me, and I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of... Well, I say that, but they're all in digital, basically, of songs sitting on my laptop that have never been completed, never fully produced, and never released, because they're okay. They're not like, they're okay, but they're not something that I was like, oh yeah, this is really great, this is something good. It's just something kind of like, okay, then put this song together, it's kind of bland. It took me about 20 minutes, but I'm not going to put that out because maybe I'll drop it somewhere for free and be like, here, have some sample music. But other than that, it's not something that I'm going to be, listen to my latest single, it's great. No.
Yeah, I mean, to be like what you said, like taking time to create something, to me that feeds into the being dynamic with it, because at least there's emotion in that, and when it takes hours, days, months, years, even if it's on a computer, you still poured time into that and created dynamics with it. And to me, that helps feed in to the realness and legitimacy of it.
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break from the conversation here so we can move on to our segment before we take our actual break here.
Yep.
Something we do every Wednesday night is we have a little segment called This Day in Music, where we go back and look at some musical history that occurred on this date. And one thing I noticed, too, because since I'm in Ohio and I'm on a slightly different time zone, my This Day in Music might be a day off from other folks' This Day in Music. So if anybody says, wait a second, that was yesterday or that's tomorrow, I'm in Ohio. What do you want from me? So anyway.
You tell him, Spider.
That's right.
You spread that web. I don't know.
All right, so here we go. Here we go. On this day in music, in 1968, the Beatles performed Hey Jude on the UK television show Frost on Sunday in front of an invited audience. It was the first single from their new label, Apple Records, and at over 7 minutes in length, it was at the time the longest single ever to top the British charts. And it spent 9 weeks as number one in the United States, which is the longest run at the top of the American charts for a Beatles single. So it was arguably their most popular song here in America at the time.
Nice.
Wow.
Yep, it's a good tune. Good tune. In 1973, Marvin Gaye started a 2-week run at number one on the U.S. singles chart with Let's Get It On, his second U.S.
There you go.
See? Popular stuff.
Now he's really digging deep.
That's right. We're getting into that.
Yeah, now Clayton is waking up now.
Yeah, there we go. Now the show's getting rolling.
We're going to move on a little bit more to 1979.